Good afternoon, and welcome everybody back to UFC coverage from Moneyline MMA. Nick and Jose coming at you guys Monday afternoon, as always, live with our picks for UFC Vegas 92 coming up Saturday, the 18th. We've got some exciting fights on this card. I'm not actually going to sit here and dog this card at all. I think it's a good one. It's not necessarily star power like Derek Lewis in the main event, but there's actually some really good fights on the main card and the prelims here, in which I think you can get some value on and also just enjoy as a fan, even if you're not betting at all. Quick recap on last week's fights before we get into things. And Jose and I both, like record-wise, did not have a great day at all in terms of UFC St. Louis. Funny thing is that Jose got the main event. Jose picks Derek Lewis. I picked Nascimento, but Jose can attest by fight day, right? By Saturday, I kind of had changed my mind. And I actually had some money on Derek Lewis by KO come that fight. So I myself changed from that 3-weight there and went Derek Lewis by the end of the week. Just one of those things, like, we're recording this show, man, on Monday afternoon. A lot of information comes in, and I think it's just normal, really. If you're analyzing these fights and thinking about it consistently for 5 days, you're going to have a different opinion, right? And you're going to hear other things, too, that maybe change the way you think about it. And that was kind of the case for me and Derek Lewis. It was the experience difference for me that I didn't take enough into account for my initial handicap. So other than that, we both hit our 5 weights. Jose got Sean Woodson, who had a great victory, just doing his thing, striking. And Carlos Alberg, man, wow, that was easy for him. It was easy, quick knockout, easy business. He'll probably be fighting in the next month or two again. But last note I'll have is, the Moneyline lock of the week, man. If this isn't another opportunity to just let people know, you gotta be cautious with the UFC newcomers, whether it's their debut or, of course, I'm talking about the Spain in this situation. It's not his debut in the UFC, but he's still so fresh. He had fought 20 seconds in the UFC octagon. Let's see what happens when he has to fight longer than that. And at first, I felt like he was going to be able to defend for a good, like he was kind of able to sprawl, but it was disgusting. He ended up getting taken down with ease, really, in the second and third round specifically. And you could just tell, man, he's got all that size and no technique to be able to get out of that situation. So, that'll be a topic we do touch on again today. I'm going to get into our picks because we don't have as long as we'd like to be able to discuss, as of course we've got other things going on outside the show. So we're going to get right into things. Just a quick reminder for anybody that is new, we make our picks here in a 5-weight system. We pick 5 fights from the UFC Vegas 92 card. In this case, there's 12 fights. Pick 5 of them and weigh them in order of confidence. 5-weight is the most confident, 1-weight is the least confident. We make these picks separately, and then we combine here on the show and go through what our thoughts are and if we agree or if we disagree. So that being said, we're going to start with my 5-weight of Saturday afternoon, and I'm going to stick us on the prelims. At least what's listed to be a prelim right now. I believe this is going to be one of the opening, the capital prelims, the feature prelim, you might say, the main prelim that is going to send us off into the main card. Abus Magomedov versus Warlley Alves. I always, when I say that, I always want to say Alvarez, but it's just Alves. Warlley Alves. And look, man, I'm excited. This is a spot where I think Dana White and Hunter Campbell and those dudes, I think they're like, dang, we need to get this Abus guy a win already. And I get that he won against Dustin Stolfus, but man, his last 2 losses are kind of tough. And I feel like they're trying to get him back in the win column. It seems like they're tossing him an opponent that's kind of stuck in a rut here. Got knocked out twice and lost a split decision. And not like good fighters for sure, but not top end fighters by any means at all. Like most of the top end fighters too, like Randy Brown, James Krause. he just loses to. He can only beat the low end fighters that they match him up against. And I get that Abus is off 2 losses, but I'll be the first. Like, I had Sean Strickland beating Abus. I won money off of that. Won money off Kaio. Those are predictable losses in my opinion. Abus was not getting a good matchup situation. Sean Strickland's just one of a kind, and it was like right in his prime come up for the belt. So it is what it is. Like I said, I've won some money off it, and I'm going to continue winning money off of Abus, but in this case, the other way around, because I do think he has the technical and boxing know-how to be able to get around Warley Alves and his potential power. What do you think, Jose?
Yeah, Nick, I agree with you. I have Abu as well. And as you mentioned, both guys, they're coming off multiple losses, but Abus, that Sean Strickland fight, he really left a lot of it out. And Brajo, he's a beast as well. And the one thing I say about Alves is that, yeah, even though he's riding this 3-fight losing streak, yeah, as you mentioned, just out of his last 6 fights alone, yeah, he's only won 2. And and then if you keep going on, he lost James Krause before that. Interestingly enough, he does have some good level experience though. Like he has a win over Kobe Covington via submission in the first round, but that's 2015. Goes on to lose to Brian Barberena and Kamaru Usman. So this guy, he's seen the who's who about as of lately. He's just not. It's just not been going his way. Just getting finished. I think Abus is actually going to be more likely to finish him maybe via TKO. Out of the 25 wins Abus has, 14 of them are via KO/TKO. So Alves has been KO'd 3 times in his career. Out of his 7 losses, he's been finished via KO/TKO 3 times. And as you mentioned, yeah, Abus has phenomenal striking on the feet. He's definitely going to get the better end of these exchanges when they match up. Abus is the bigger guy overall. He's 6'2", Alves is 5'11", and Abus also has a 6-inch reach advantage. So him having a 6-inch reach advantage and being a high-level striker, I just for sure believe that he's going to rack up so many points and just overall then eventually it'll lead him to a TKO/KO. So this one, yeah, I agree with you on Abus. He is my 3-weight.
Yeah, sounds good, man. I think I kind of had been battling back and forth in my head when it comes to the UFC Apex with the smaller cage. Is it truly a benefit or a negative? Like I'm curious to hear your opinion, benefit or negative, as to being like 6 inches taller and 6 inches say wider reach. Like I'm wondering, like it's essentially asking if you're the bigger person, would you rather be fighting the other experienced fighter in a small room or a big room? Like because if I think it would depend, right? Because a guy like Volkanovski, I would really think he would benefit off of a big room because he can kind of step back and pick his times to get in and attack. But I don't know, man. Some guys like the wrestlers might like it might be varied just based on the fighter alone. Because if you're a wrestler, you're like, yeah, this tall guy, okay, he's so scary. Got your knee because you're right next to me, you know. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, this one, that's a tough one because I feel like I would personally would like. I think most maybe a smaller cage just because it's just like, hey, it's just quicker to the action. No matter how big you are. I don't know exactly what the arguments are for. Like, what's the difference? Like, in a bigger cage, you're more likely, I guess, to strike than get taken down. Because yeah, most wrestlers would want to put someone against the cage to take them down. But a really good wrestler wouldn't even need that, to be honest. Like Khabib, for example, wouldn't really need it. But he's not. So Islam, I should say. Um, but that being said, yeah, I think a small cage. I think we're just going to be more likely just to see maybe just a higher level of striking just from everyone overall because they're going to have to engage as opposed to circle around and buy time, I guess. So for the most part, I think does force the fighters to engage more. So then I do think we see just more action because of it. So if they prefer that, I couldn't say, but I couldn't note, but I would say so, yes, just because you get the fight going.
So just to be clear, then your answer is that the smaller cage with Abus having that size advantage is better.
I would say, yeah. I would almost say like it probably wouldn't even like make a difference to him, to be honest. Especially if it's just striking. I don't know if like the striking aspect. I don't know how much different that because like boxing rings too alone are pretty small. So I think just striking wise in general probably doesn't make a difference for majority like good level strikers.
So that's interesting because then, like, without getting into a long conversation about it, then that makes me think uh, a wrestler would prefer a bigger cage because his opponent will use the cage to get up, and it takes longer to get to a cage. You know, if you're in the middle and you're at the UFC pay per view event where it's going to be way wider than at the Apex. But that's again kind of specific to someone like Islam, maybe, who would want to get on somebody and then stay on them for the rest of the round. But in any case, I don't think there's going to be any wrestling in this fight. It's just an interesting dialogue about cage sizes, and I think it's something that I could do more research on and try and get more of a grasp on certain game plans, certain styles, and how that changes even. Because I'm sure there's a lot of little nooks and nuances about it that I don't know when it comes to like, hey, you got a smaller cage to do things like this more, or look for these kinds of counters more, or whatever else. So either way, Jose and I do agree here on Abus Magomedov, and my final note will be that I think taking him by KO or points, the double chance bet, is going to be one of your best opportunities to win in this card.
Yeah, so yeah, that being said, I was probably he's your five weight, and he's my three weight. So seeing if you agree with me on any of these next few, he could be our pick of the week. But that being said, for our five weight, uh, this is the feature bout at bantamweight between Adrian Yanez and Vinicius Salvador. Right now, Salvador is the betting underdog at plus 280, while Adrian Yanez is the betting favorite at minus 390. Yanez is a big favorite for sure in this one, and and he's coming off the two losses to Jonathan Martinez and Rob Font, total beasts. That Rob Font fight, I think I did pick Adrian before the fight, but Rob Font is just a beast himself. While Salvador, he himself is also coming off two losses via unanimous decision. So both guys, he's the younger guy too compared to Giannis, but I'm gonna go with. I'm definitely agreeing with I'm agreeing with going with Giannis on this one. I feel the strongest with him just because how good he's actually looked even prior to his losses. Even Rob Font did TKO him, but before that, Adrian Yanez also landed some shots. But overall, Rob Font did show to be the better fighter. But even before that, all the fights that Giannis was winning, he was just going on a tear, getting KO and TKOs, like, and a lot in the first round as well. 10 out of his 16 wins come via KO/TKO alone. And when it comes for Salvador, he's also a finisher. He's 13 of his wins come via KO/TKO. Out of his 14 wins, 13 come via KO/TKO. So that being said, yeah, this fight I think is also going to be safe to say that it's not going to go the distance. Someone's probably going to be put to sleep. Both guys land a high percentage of strikes per minute. Adrian Yanez lands 6.15, while Salvador lands 5.44. And both do absorb a lot as well. Adrian Yanez, he absorbs 5.73, while Salvador absorbs 6.05 significant strikes per minute. So both are going to be throwing a lot, and both are definitely going to let their chins out and be hit a lot. So that being said, you know, I do have Adrian as my as up there and is my five weight, and that's because both guys too. I'm not too worried about like who's been like Adrian has, he could get actually knocked out in this for sure by Salvador, but he's only been knocked out twice slash TKO, and those are his two most recent fights. So I don't think he's completely like falling off yet. I think he's still someone that can like hang up there with the top contenders and possibly even be a champ one day. I think he just is this just like in the middle of his career, just something he needs to bounce back from. But if Adrian Adams does lose this, then I do start thinking he's probably not that high prospect anymore for sure that we once thought. And Salvador, on the other hand, though, too, he's also been only knocked out twice before. And I just think like it's almost the same thing with him. If he beats Giannis, I think he's just gonna be. I don't know if he would hang with the top guys up there, but he definitely would be someone to consider like in the top 10 for sure and to hang around there for a bit. But yeah, this one I got Giannis, and again I got him via KO/TKO. What are your thoughts on this fight, Nick?
Okay, nice man. I do have Giannis as well, and he's my 2-weight on this one. So decently less confident than you, and mainly because he's coming off 2 straight knockout losses. Uh, he hasn't looked good. It's been a couple of years, right? His last win is 2022. It's gonna by June 18th, right? That's gonna really be close to 2 years on the dot, a year and 11 months, right, since his last win. And I think he's getting himself in a good situation against Salvador because he's also coming off 2 losses, and they were decision losses, not necessarily that entertaining. Giannis is very clearly, like you said, not as likely to go the distance. He's had 1 split decision win in his UFC tenure against Davey Grant, but otherwise, this man's getting a KO. And it's happening in the first round, odds are. He's got a couple of second round KOs and 1 third round KO, but you can bet your ass that Giannis is going to come out swinging. And I don't think Salvador is going to be quite ready for that kind of pressure. I understand Salvador is very hard to knock out. And in fact, his only losses in the UFC were not by knockout. They were decision losses. And one in the thing is, too, though, he lost to CJ Vergara, though, in a unanimous decision. He was overweight, not CJ. Like, that's rough, man. If you're overweight, man, you need to win that fight. That's pretty bad. And for those reasons, I got Yanez, but I didn't really like his odds. Like, he's like a minus 300 plus favorite. And I get kind of why, because he should win the fight. But, dude, those are like not worth it kinds of odds for the situation that even you admitted. Like, Salvador could get the KO. Like, it could happen. I am not betting $300 to win 100 against that, personally.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that, Nick. Yeah, especially when you look at their resume on paper, pretty close, to be honest, pretty identical in the number of fights, number and win to loss ratios. So that being said, yeah, it's both, and then on paper you see both get hit a lot and both throw a lot of strikes. So that just definitely leaves it up in the air, like it's anyone's game really. But I agree with you. Giannis should get this win, and that's what I. And that being said, yeah, I feel a lot stronger about him because he's my 5-weight and he is your 2-weight.
Yep, I'm going to keep the train rolling here so we can keep this show on the road. And I'm going to bring up my 4-weight here, which is a matchup in which isn't even on the UFC website, but this is on FanDuel with the current odds. I've got my 4-weight on Omar Sy, a UFC newcomer, a French prospect, a Bulgarian prospect, fighting in a KSW. Omar Sy fighting Antonio Tricoli. Omar Sy is a minus 265 favorite on FanDuel Sportsbook, and he is 9-0 in his short MMA career. Tricoli does have more experience professionally with 15 professional fights, but is also pretty new in his UFC tenure. So, in fact, he has not fought. He had a no contest in the Contender Series because he won, but then it got overturned for the lovely androgen steroids, anabolic steroids. So he got that reversed, and then they were going to fight him again. The UFC was against OSP in December of 2022. The fight got canceled. So this man, I'm just letting you know, this man has not fought since November of 2021. November of 2021. And he is fighting Omar Sy, a huge 6'5", 83.9-inch reach, light heavyweight. I mean, given the fact, I'll give it to Tricoli is also the same height. They're not going to look like completely different fighters in the face-offs or anything. But Omar Sy comes, and he comes aggressively. He's got 3 wins in KSW. I have a lot of respect for KSW as a good organization for UFC prospects, and he's winning those fights easily. Round 1 finish after round 1 finish, punches from rear mount, rear naked choke. This guy doesn't have to knock you out. He can finish you by choking you out too. Omar Sy is going to come in aggressive. I would look for him to win inside the distance, and I'd look for him to win dang near in the first round. Dang near. Tricoli is not going to be ready for this fight, and might I mention, the only thing he might have for as an advantage, I'm trying to say, is I believe he's Mackenzie Dern's boyfriend. Just saying, a little tidbit there. Antonio Tricoli. So he does have a lifestyle of fighting around him, although Mackenzie Dern is, she is what she is. Either way, full weight on Omar Sy. Any thoughts, Jose?
Yeah, Nick, I definitely am gonna have to agree with you on this one. If I would actually have saw it earlier in advance, I definitely probably would have made a pick. I would have made a pick on this one, just because, yeah, just crazy how Antonio has not fought since 2021. It's just insane that, yeah, like he's about to make his UFC debut. It's almost unheard of, and the fact is too, like even before he got into the UFC, he had a 3-fight losing streak as well, and then he just got 2 wins, Dana White Contender Series, gets that last win in November, and then it's just we haven't seen him since. And that being said, it's just like, yeah, he's not shown any much even historically on his record to show why he should beat him. Like if you were to do a cutoff on his resume, um, yeah, right before the Dana White Contender Series, like, yeah, you like this guy should not get into the UFC really. Um, but that being said, like I don't want to bash on him like that. Like, like you mentioned, he's Mackenzie Dern's boyfriend, so he's definitely around high level athletes, fighters all the time. But that being said, Omar Sy, yeah, he's just like you mentioned, he's a finisher. Out of his 9 wins, only 2 went to decision. It's hard to bet against this guy making his UFC debut. So, yeah, that being said, I agree with you on Omar's side. He wins pretty much however he wants.
Sounds good, man. All right. Well, in that case, we will move forward with your 4-weight.
Yeah, and for my 4-weight, this is the welterweight bout between Chaos Williams and Carlston Harris. Right now, Chaos Williams, he is the betting favorite at -140, while Carlston Harris is the betting underdog at +110. For this matchup, I like Chaos Williams, so it's hard to bet against him, and he's who I'm going with. He's coming off that split decision win to Rolando Bedoya, most recently back in May of last year. So we've not seen him in a year. And while on the other hand, we haven't seen Carlston Harris since August. He's coming off 2 wins as well. This one, I'm going with the younger Chaos Williams. He's just shown good composure in terms of how he's fought in the most recent last few times I've seen him. Like, it's been a minute. Again, it's been a minute, but dude has a high level of striking percentage when it comes. He lands 5.77 significant strikes per minute, and he's called Chaos for a reason. He does get hit a lot back in return, though. He's 5.33 absorption rate compared to Carlston Harris. He throws a little less, and he also gets hit a little less, but he lands 2.93 significant strikes per minute. And in this one, if anyone's gonna, I don't think it's gonna go to the ground either. I think this one's gonna be mostly on the feet, and it's going to be I don't want to say it's going to be like fireworks, but it's definitely going to be a better, like almost like a return for Chaos Williams. I would say, in terms of the reason I say that is because uh his decision loss. So obviously some people see it like he lost, and he's coming off two split decisions, 1 win, 1 loss. I think this fight's almost going to be like a unanimous decision for him. I think overall, at the end of the day, he's going to get the better end of the significant strikes, and he's hard to put out. Out of it, all his losses have come by decision. So I don't think if he gets clipped, I don't think it's gonna be enough to put his lights out. I think he's gonna keep pressing forward and ultimately win via unanimous decision on this one. That being said, yeah, how he matches up with Carlston Harris, he only has like a 1 inch reach advantage, so it's not much of an advantage there. And when it comes to height, they're both the same. So that being said, yeah, I got KS Williams for this one. Do you have any thoughts on this fight, Nick?
I don't have an official weight on this one, but I will say, as far as my thoughts, I would actually be disagreeing if I did. If I made a pick, I'd have Carlston Harris, mainly because I think I like his aspect of his submission game. I know you said you think this fight stays on the feet, and I think that's most likely true unless Carlston feels in some real danger. I understand his takedown average is not the greatest at 29%, but he does still get 2 takedowns averaged, per fight of 3 rounds. And if he gets one on Chaos Williams, I have a strong inclination to believe that Carlston Harris will finish him off, as Carlston Harris does have 6 submission wins under his belt. And I know that Chaos has 2, but I think there's still a very clear skill gap there that Carlston Harris might choose to utilize. So for that reason, I would actually be picking the dog here.
Okay, I hear you with that. I definitely, yeah. In terms of submission, yeah, Carlston Harris, I agree with you. If he does win, it's probably gonna be most likely via submission. Don't know if he'll be the one to engage, like if he's gonna take down Chaos Williams down a lot though, because Chaos does have an 80% takedown defense, but just gotta see, like, I guess how that plays out in the cage, and see if Harrison does get him down and can ultimately possibly take his back, or just anyway. I think the most way if he were to win would probably be, yeah, just a choke. Like he's gotten a lot of anaconda chokes. So it could possibly be even the anaconda as well. So, but that being said, yeah, I got Williams on this one. I feel good about him. I think he's gonna win this, probably unanimous decision. That's the way that I best feel the most strongest about this one. That being said, he's my 4-weight.
All right, so then let's go on to my 3-weight. I'm going with Themba Garimbo against Ramiz Brahimaj. This is a welterweight bout on the main card, currently listed at least on Tapology as the feature fight of the night, and as well on UFC Stats, the feature fight of the night. I'm picking Themba Garimbo here, mainly without going into a deep, long story about it. I just think Ramiz is sub or lose. I think if he gets a submission, he wins. If he doesn't get a submission, he loses the fight. And I'm just going to trust that Themba Garimbo does not get submitted. It's really simple as that. I understand he lost via submission to AJ Fletcher. I still consider AJ Fletcher to be kind of a beast. I know he lost to Brian Battle. Brian Battle's also kind of a stud, and he's been on a really good streak lately. I don't think Ramiz is going to be able to get a takedown on Themba Garimbo. His takedown accuracy is 2/3, but I think it's kind of like iffy because he's only landed 4. He's only attempted 4. No. He's attempted a lot more. My bad. Because he even attempted. The reason he lost against Court McKee was wrestling. He had over 10 minutes allowed of control time against when he fought Court McKee. But in any case, I don't think that's going to matter. Themba Garimbo is another case of having a huge size advantage, 2 inches of height, 5 inches of reach. I just think he gets the job done on the feet. What do you think, Jose?
Yeah. So for this fight, I did not make a pick, but yeah, I would have to agree with you on Garimbo as well. And you mentioned it too, just like him having a high reach advantage by 5 inches. You know, like that says a lot. Even though he doesn't have the highest striking rate, he doesn't have the highest yet. But when it comes to Ramiz, though, he absorbs a lot. He lands 2.47 significant strikes, and thus far he's absorbed 4.08. So yeah, he's almost getting hit double than what he's throwing out. So on this one, I would go with you on Themba Garimbo, but yeah, I did not make a pick on this one.
All right, sounds good. Well, then in that case, we got to my 3-weight. We already know your 3-weight is Abus. We already know my 2-weight is Adrian Yanez. So we can go to your 2-weight, Jose.
So yeah, my 2-weight, this actually comes down to the main event between Edson Barboza and Leroy Murphy. Right now, Edson Barboza is the plus 122 underdog, while Leroy Murphy is the minus 156 favorite. This one, I'm going with the dog in this one, Edson Barboza. The way I'm looking at it is like, he's, even though he is the older fighter, he's 38 here, while Murphy, he is 32. Edson Barboza thus far has not looked bad. I mean, his last 2 fights, getting that first round KO over Billy Q and then winning unanimously against Sadiq Youssef. Edson Barboza, I'm assuming he may put on something almost like a Jose Aldo performance where he's aging, but he's still doing well. There's some dudes that like Edson Barboza is definitely he lost to Bryce Mitchell, Giga Chikowski. There's those guys. Leroy Murphy, I have yet to see him actually beat someone where it makes me question is he better than Bryce Mitchell, Giga Chikowski, or is he just as good as them? Where if he beats Edson Barboza, then yeah, moving forward, then yeah, I will start put any more respect to Leroy Murphy's name. But thus far, beating someone like Sadiq Yusuf and Billy Q just right now, just in this stage of his career, and just I just think that Edson Barboza. I like him as an underdog, and just overall, he would be my pick whether he was the underdog or not. We just all know, like, for his age, he still lands a lot, and he just still has amazing spinning wheel kicks. And for his, like, right now, he has a 4.18. He lands 4.18 significant strikes per minute, while Leroy Murphy lands 3.65. This is going to be a fight. Definitely, like we talked about earlier, like Chaos Williams and Giannis, like it's probably going to be most likely on the feet as well, and I would expect either Edson Barboza winning via KO/TKO or unanimous decision again. What are your thoughts on this fight, Nick?
Man, so I do have a disagreement here, but it's a pretty low confidence one weight on Lerone Murphy here. I I like the youthfulness, but I think you make a great point about the age. I like that Edson Barboza also has experience with 5 minute fights, 5 round fights, sorry, as he just finished one against Sadiq Yusuf and got the win. So that shows a lot for Edson Barboza, and that was as of October of last year. That's not too long ago. So he's had a full camp, presumably. Lerone Murphy's coming off multiple wins in a row too, some including Makwan Amirkhani as well, who's kind of like underwhelming. He, after losing to Lerone Murphy, he is now 1-2 against a few other kind of average fighters. So this is a real test for Lerone Murphy, no doubt about it. And that's kind of one of the main reasons he is my one way. This could very well be a scenario just like last week's main event, where by time Saturday rolls around, I'm betting Edson. And a lot of that would come from the fact that he's an underdog, and they've been really, of course, Derek Lewis just won as a favorite, but most still underdogs this year in the UFC are really successful in main events. That the thing is, though, man, is Lerone Murphy has just been so unstoppable. I think, as far as his age, his youthfulness goes, I'm really only concerned about his cardio and his ability to keep pushing it if it gets to the championship rounds. Not necessarily anticipating it to, but at the same time, man, with both of his fights, as of late, going to decision, he did knock out Makwan Amirkhani, at least, as bad as he is. He at least got the knockout. So he has shown the ability to finish fights. But in this case, I think he's going to need to do it again. He's going to need to go in there and just bring it to Barboza and not allow Barboza to get any confidence. As a veteran, Barboza can get in his groove and just piece it out with points. So my one way is on the notion that Lerone Murphy goes in there and just bombards and tries and gets a first round KO or a second round KO, similar to how he did against Ricardo Ramos or Makwan Amirkhani. He's going to have to do it. Otherwise, Edson's most likely to win the decision, I think. So that's my thoughts. One weight on Lerone Murphy coming in there and finishing the fight.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, Lerone Murphy, he's definitely gonna have to come in hot. He's not himself has never been finished, so it will be tough. I think if Edson wins this, I do think it's gonna be unanimous decision, just because I do think it's gonna be just tough to finish Lerone Murphy. And if Lerone Murphy, he comes in guns blazing. Edson Barboza, he's mostly has lost to decision, but he has shown not to have a chin at times. Most notably, like when Justin Gaethje just kind of touched him and just put him out. So, and he has been TKO'd a couple another time since then to Giga Chikadze in later in the third round. So, Lerone Murphy, he's gonna put on the pace to have to put out Edson Barboza. But again, I'm banking on his experience and just being able to perform still at such a high level to get him a unanimous decision win, most likely over Lerone Murphy. So this is one we both disagree on, but we're both not as confident as our picks, because Lerone Murphy is your one weight and Edson Barboza is my 2 weight.
Yeah, man. Pretty much. So, okay. So that's the main event then. We do disagree, but I would not be surprised come Saturday I have a bet on Edson Barboza. Now, I will say, if I was to go with Lerone Murphy, I would specifically do Lerone Murphy inside the distance, because I totally agree with Jose. If this goes to judge's decision, I'm not liking it for Lerone Murphy already. So that covers the show for us today. Outside of Jose's one weight.
Yeah, so for my one weight, this is actually going to be the fight as of now that's going to kick off the main card, and it's the women's strawweight bout between Luana Pinheiro and Angela Hill. Right now, Pinheiro, she is the betting underdog at plus 110, while Angela Hill is the betting favorite at minus 140. This one, I'm going with the more experienced Angela Overkill, even though I just I wonder how she's still in the UFC just because she is 16 and 13. I'm taking this more over just her experience. She's 39 years old. She is my one way. I do have the least confident in Angela Hill because majority of the time, now that I said this, I almost want to switch. Majority of the time I have chosen Angela Hill. She has lost. So please take this pick with that in mind. If you take if you take my advice and go for her, yay. And if you take this as a warning and don't go for her, yay. Um, so pick your poison. But that being said, yeah, she is my one way, and the reason is just because Luana, she's just not as experienced, and she is coming off a third round TKO loss to Amanda Ribas, and Amanda Ribas, she's just been up and down, like pretty much majority of her UFC career, win loss. So where this puts Lana, she does I do think it does put her somewhere like in the middle of the strawweight bout division where yeah, like this is a good test for her is Angela Hill. Angela Hill is more like a one of the gatekeepers, I would say, at this point for strawweights. 69 years old. If she wins this, I think she's just going to win via unanimous decision. She has a win over Denise Gomez as well, most recently back in November of last year, and Denise Gomez is 24 years old. So Angela Hill doing that at in her high 30s, almost 40, beating someone almost half her age, just basically half her age, is just also says a lot. And pretty similar to what I said about Edson Barboza is that she's still out there getting wins, and she's just mostly a unanimous decision queen at this point. So she's either going to win via unanimous decision or lose this unanimous decision. Out of her 13 losses, she's never been KO'd or TKO'd. She's only been submitted twice, and she's always lost via points. So in this case, Luana Pinheiro has to come in and just be the better striker to ultimate and just out wrestle Angela Hill to get this win. But overall, Angela Hill again, she's so experienced. She's overall a well-rounded fighter. She'll get the takedown if it's open, but on the feet too, she's a most likely a striker. But that being said, again, her striking similar to her record. She also gets hit a lot. She lands 5.44 significant strikes per minute, but she gets hit a lot with 4.94. Luana is actually pretty similar, even though she hasn't been in the UFC as long. She thus far has a 3.89 significant strikes that she lands per minute, but she absorbs 4.38. So in this one, yeah, she's going to get tagged quite a bit by Angela Hill, and I think ultimately go on to lose unanimous decision. So in the end of the day, yes, I do have Angela Hill. I have her winning unanimous decision, but she is my one way just because I'm not that confident, just because Angela Hill alone has been known just to like not get the wins that she should have gotten. So I know you did not have a pick for this one, but just curious, did you have any thoughts on this fight, Nick?
Yeah, no, obviously didn't have a weight, but I still feel like I'd agree. I do lean Angela Hill with you here. Just her age and her experience would make me nervous if she didn't have that recent success that you were talking about against Denise Gomez. And to be honest, Pinheiro does pose some threat in that she was on a 4-fight win streak coming into the UFC and beat at least Michelle Waterson Gomez, who's pretty good, but lose to Amanda Ribas, which is kind of starting to get up into the higher end of the women's UFC like totem pole, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So Pinheiro, I think, is kind of one of those middle of the road fighters, and Angela Hill is kind of like the litmus test fighter, I feel like, for this division as well. So at women's strawweight, so man, it's just one of those things where I wasn't confident enough to put a weight in it, but I do like Angela Hill to win just with her experience, and not really thinking that Pinheiro is going to pose much of a threat unless it's like a submission or something.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you on that. Definitely, biggest threat would be a submission. Um, so, uh, but yeah, I think in this one ultimately just the vet. I am banking a lot on the UFC vet with just a lot more experience in that recent win. Like actually, all her last three wins in general for Angela Hill, all those opponents are actually younger than Luana. So couple 30-year-olds and
Wow.
the 24-year-old right there. So Luana's actually um, the one of the older ones she's fought recently. The other one who's the same age as her is Mackenzie Dern. So that being said, yeah, I feel um, Angela Hill should get this win, but again, not that confident. So um, she's my one weight, and Nick does not have a weight on it, but he's picking Angela Hill as well.
Yeah, dude. Angela Hill's actually 11-13 in the UFC. It's kind of funny. She's got a losing record in the UFC, but she's just like been good enough to stick around because she won't go on a long losing streak. So even though she'll lose against the belt champions and stuff, she'll always beat like the bottom end of the top 15, and she
Right,
just
yeah,
kind
and
of
that's why I
hangs
think
out.
she's just a good straw weight. I'm not a good gatekeeper almost, or like
Yep.
you gotta like you if you beat her, then yeah, you're good enough to start advancing on. But yeah, Angela Hill probably won't be in the UFC long either, to be honest, just given her age.
No way. But all right, that'll do it for us here at Moneyline MMA. We got to get going, but appreciate everybody for tuning in and listening. We'll of course be live. We're gonna have, I believe, a week from Saturday. We're gonna have UFC's. No, sorry, it's gonna be a break. I believe we have a break. Let me double check before we log off here this afternoon. Definitely appreciate everybody watching and listening. Let's see here. So, yes, we will have a break. So it's going to be May 25th is the week after. We'll have a break. No fights, May 25th. And then after the week after that, we are going to have the June 1st UFC 302 lightweight belt on the line, which actually works out really well for me because my dad is actually getting married on the 26th. So not having any fights to worry about on the 25th or really the week ahead is going to be nice in terms of getting prepped for that. So awesome. Thanks again for everybody to tune in. We will be taking a break then next week, but we will be live on May 27th, Monday night, to discuss UFC 302. Be here, or you're going to